Hey, I thought it would be sort of fun to do a video talking about tattoos. I'm planning to get one soon, so I've just kind of been thinking about tattoos a lot and like looking at them a lot and stuff. I have no like interesting or unique commentary on tattoos. I just think it's an interesting subject. I always liked tattoos, and I think when I was growing up and I kind of imagined myself as an adult, I saw myself as like a heavily tattooed person. But there's so many things where when I was a kid, I was like, wow, when I grow up and like I have the ability to do this, I'm gonna do like this, and this. And I feel like so many of the things I wanted to do as a kid, like I haven't changed very much. Like I wanna do all the same things. But I think for the last few years, I've been really like butting up against the limits of like being a very shy and socially anxious person, where like I can kind of see that there's like this really big world out there where like I do like technically have access to like so many of the things I would want to do, but that I just like really struggle to do them or access them because I'm so shy. And one of those things was tattoos. I only have one because my friend and I wanted similar tattoos, and so like she made an appointment and we both went together and kind of shared our appointment. And so I think I always kind of had this idea that, I have all these tattoos, most of which I've like wanted for like at least years, if not like 10 years. And like, I always had this idea like, okay, well, maybe someday I'll like be friends with a tattoo artist, or I'll like have a friend or partner who like gets a lot of tattoos, and like they'll just kind of hook me up like with an artist, and it'll be like really easy, and like I won't have to do like a lot of talking or like anything that makes me super anxious with somebody I don't know. And then like, I'll get all my tattoos and I'll like enter my new life as a tattooed person. Anyways, that didn't happen, so I continued to only have the one tattoo that I got with my friend. And then I think the thing is, like, over the last year or two, in some other ways, I was really trying to like access the big world and do like a lot of the activities that I previously thought were really scary. But then, like, because of current events, like because of shelter in place and COVID and everything, like all of that stopped. And like all of my self improvement projects had to stop, and I had to just kind of suck again. So anyway, when I saw that tattoos were going to be allowed again in San Francisco starting like last week, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking like brute force it, and like I don't care how hard and scary it is to like figure out how to get a tattoo by myself. I'm gonna do it and enter tattoo life. So I'm working on that. And anyway, I thought it would be fun to talk about like the one I already have and stuff like that. I think two things about tattoos that some people seem to think but that I don't really like or relate to very much are first of all, the idea that your tattoo has to have like a really literal meaning where it like represents you like your entire life and your entire self. I don't know how much of a common thing this is, but like several years ago I used to watch the reality show Tattoo Nightmares, which like I could do a whole video about. It's like the weirdest show ever, but it is really fun, and it's about people getting cover-ups on their tattoos. But like the show always has this weird concept of like what a good tattoo is, like what you want to get over your bad tattoo. And like it's never just like, oh my gosh, I want to get like a huge Venus flytrap because like I really like them, and like it's kind of a sexy metaphor. Actually, I would love to get that. But yeah, it's always like, okay, I'm gonna get a Venus flytrap because I'm sexy. And like coming out of the Venus flytrap is gonna be like a picture of like my baby because I love my baby. And like each vine is gonna be holding an object, like one will represent my job and one will represent my hobby. And like the pot will be like painted with like a symbol of like my political party. Like it's like people seem to have this idea that your tattoo should like have all as many like specific details and references to like yourself as possible. I guess so that if you die they can like look at your body and be like, okay, I can see that this person was like a member of the Green Party, like their baby looked like this, and like they were a doctor. Like I just don't really get it. Especially because like people already like can talk to you and like ask you questions about yourself if you are alive. So like why does your tattoo need to say so much stuff about you? Like I think it should be meaningful maybe, but like it's really just like a piece of art, so it should really just be like funny or interesting or cool. Yeah, and then like the other thing is, and like this really stressed me out. Like I remember maybe when I was like 20 or something, a friend of mine and I were thinking about getting tattoos, and I wanted to do it, and then I started to just totally panic and like get cold feet, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do it, it's like such a big commitment, and I just like freaked out and wouldn't do it. And like this time, and then like when I got my tattoo, I remember having a similar sense of like kind of like dread and anxiety like prior to getting it, because like I was making this like big choice that I could never take back. But like it's actually not that big a deal. Like when you think about it, there's so many things about all of our bodies that like aren't like necessarily like the most ideal perfect thing that we're like the most happy with. But like I don't know, on that like scale, like tattoos definitely aren't like the worst thing you could have on your body. Like I don't know, just like when you think about it, like the idea that you might have like a picture on your arm, and like it might not be like the most pretty or cool or like um profound picture in the whole world, but like it's still kind of cool that you have like a cool picture on your arm. And it's like I don't know. I feel like if there's like if you have to be like, oh, I hate my skin, I hate my hair, like I hate my body, I hate like blah 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 blah, like at least you can like be like, okay, maybe this isn't like the most perfect thing ever, but like, you know, on the ranking of things about my body, like this one is like, you know, relatively better. I don't know. I just don't think it has to be perfect. And I guess I think like I don't know, there's this idea like, oh my gosh, like what if you get a tattoo or something and you like stop liking it later? And it's like, I don't know, like it's still just part of your body. Like even if you don't like it as much, I think it will end up being a bigger part of your life just because like it is on your body, so it's part of you and you think about it a lot. Like I feel like there's a few things like I don't know, books or like musicals that I wanted to get tattoos of when I was a teenager, and like I definitely wouldn't now, but it is kind of like, you know, if I like lived my whole life with like a Rent tattoo or something, like yikes, but that is just like that would just be part of who I was, you know. I don't think it's that big a deal. I've read this essay once that I've always wished I could find again, but it was sort of talking about like stressing about getting like the right tattoo that represents you, and how basically the person came to realize like, oh, you actually can just like always get more tattoos, so like you don't need one to represent you, like you can keep trying to get it right and like adding more things. Oh yeah, so anyway, the tattoo that I do have is a Jenny Holzer truism from, I want to say this is from the Survival series, maybe it's the Living series. So she's a conceptual artist who was really popular among my like friend group in like 2012 or 2013 or something. And I think because she was so popular like with my friends and kind of among like a lot of people on Tumblr and stuff like that would like repost her art a lot. I think I sort of was biased and thought that like everyone in the world like knew who she was, and I think that's made it like a little, it's just kind of funny that like when people ask about my tattoo, like they don't know who she is. So I have to try to explain it without going into all of that. But I guess that is one thing that I wasn't quite expecting. I thought she was like somewhat more widely known, I guess. So Jenny Holzer does a lot of different kinds of art, but mostly involving text. And I think the thing that she's kind of most, the thing that has sort of gone viral about her art is like some things which are like really big statements in like public places, so like on theater marquees or on like billboards or like projected onto like buildings, where it'll just be like a statement. And a lot of the time something that I think is cool is like sometimes the statements are like offensive, sometimes they're stupid, sometimes they sound like the kind of like twisted thinking that you would just like have when you're feeling really messed up, and then like other times they're actually really good advice. But just the fact that they're written in these like really bold letters and they're like so huge and like in public places, it gives them this sort of sense of authority, which I feel like is part of what like makes them so like enjoyable and engaging, I guess. Even though I do think like a lot of her quotes are generally just like really catchy and like interesting and entertaining, even if like they're not literally true. But I think just like presenting them in that way is really neat. So for a few years I had thought like, okay, I'm gonna get one of her lines and I'm going to get it in like the same kind of huge font, and I'm going to get like a big enough tattoo that like people who are just like even near me or like in the same room as me can just like read it. And so it would be similar to just like a poster or something, but just like on my body. And so I went through a lot of different ideas of like which one to get, and initially a lot of the ones I wanted were some of the more like kind of sweet, kind of like twee ones, like turn soft and lovely every time you have a chance was one that I kind of wanted. And then I ended up going with, oh shit, what does my tattoo say? You have a sick one on your hands when your affection is used to punish you, which is like a bit more, like, I guess, dark sounding. And I feel like I'm not sure. I feel like I generally don't get like very positive reactions to my tattoo. Like it's not very like attractive, I guess. It's just kind of like big, and it's not a very positive quote. So I feel like sometimes people are kind of like, why did you get that? But at the same time, I feel like having a tattoo that people don't like isn't the big deal, though. Like, I might have thought, like, it's not like people are going to be like, I don't like your tattoo, I don't like your tattoo, I don't like your tattoo. Like, every time they talk to you, like, what can they do about it? It's already there. So, the reason I wanted to get this quote was, I mean, I don't feel like I need to go into this to, like, explain why I have it. I honestly just think it's, like, a really good line. I think it's really true. And I feel like my best interactions have been people having just like read it because they were standing behind me or something, whether they were people I knew or strangers, and then just being like, hey, like that's really true, and like maybe like opening up about an experience that they've had. Like I feel like people who have had like certain experiences or are in a certain headspace can just kind of be like, oh, that's what that's about, like without having to like ask me what it means, which I feel like I used to get that like more after I first got it, and like people would be like, what does that mean? And it was like, I don't understand, like if you don't know, like I don't feel like I can explain it to you. But to me it makes me think about the way that like if you are scammed by someone, like, or sort of like emotionally blackmailed or like emotionally manipulated by someone, or just if you end up like dating or just like being intertwined or like involved with somebody who's like kind of a dick, like I don't know, I think it's really easy to like sort of take the blame for yourself and be like, oh, I shouldn't have liked this person. I shouldn't have wanted to be in a relationship. I shouldn't have wanted to like give this person a chance. I shouldn't have like wanted to like help someone or be nice to them or like whatever thing like led to me getting hurt, and like now feeling like I've been kind of a patsy, you know? And so the reason that I really liked this quote when I saw it was because I felt like it sort of places the blame on the person who like does that type of manipulation, or it sort of takes advantage of somebody else's, I don't know, openness or tenderness or like affection for them or whatever. And yeah, that's basically it. That's why I liked it so much. It sort of flipped a certain idea for me. I don't know, one thing I liked was, I mean, I've had several experiences like this, but you know, I remember like I used to volunteer somewhere, and like somebody else who worked there, you know, just like I guess like saw me, was like standing behind me and was just like, wow, like I used to date so many people like that. Like I guess I just sort of like when people just kind of automatically recognize what it's about. I don't want to sound like I think it's like some kind of like incredibly hard to parse, like intellectual sentence that no one could understand. But like there have been times when people are like, I don't understand, what does that mean? And like it does feel like something that you have to like have a certain relationship to that experience to just kind of like immediately get it. But I feel like when people do immediately get it, it's a really nice interaction to have. And I've had it for 6 years, so I'm pretty like settled. I feel pretty happy with it. And I also feel like I mean, I don't have anything to compare it to. I'm not an expert on like tattoos or whatever, but I feel like the person did a good job. It's very, yeah, it's very neat. It hasn't gotten, distorted or anything. I know you're supposed to credit the artist, but I don't know what you're supposed to do if they moved shops. I don't know his full name, and I don't know what shop he's at now. His name is Zach. Yeah, but yeah, sorry, I guess I didn't have much to say about this. I think just what I feel like is like before I got a tattoo, I was like, oh my gosh, it has to be perfect. It can't be different from how I expect, and like I can't regret it in any way. But like I don't feel like that. Like even though I feel like sometimes people don't get my tattoo or I have to do a lot of explaining and it's like a little annoying, I still really like having it and don't regret having it even though I didn't anticipate all of that. So that's part one. I guess I just figure I'll probably make a follow-up when I get my other tattoo. Although my other tattoo is basically just like a picture that I think is cool, so I don't think I'll have as much to say about